Peace, what's good? How y'all doing? This is ZaZa Ali. Today is Wednesday, December the 11th. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I wanted to follow up and just kind of round out and, fully complete the conversation I was trying to have yesterday on my live about this situation with Lizzo and this concept of this new modern sexual liberation movement that's happening with women across the world, and just kind of give this a little bit more context because I didn't get to really fully complete my thought process yesterday. This is why that's why I don't do lives as much as I used to. But I want to share a couple of things with you guys from my Science of Sex workbook, which you can get in ebook or the physical copy on my website. There is a section called How We See Ourselves Sexually as a Society. And I want to read something to you guys real quick, and I'm going to tie this all into the situation with Lizzo and how this new movement of sexual liberation is going to affect us in the future. It says, being more selective with who we give our bodies to is key. We should be using our experience in relationships as a roadmap. We've all seen others by way of the culture and in our personal lives bump their heads on this subject. One-night stands or casual affairs that turn into hateful and vindictive relationships. Imagine the children that are born of these connections, conceived in love opposed to lust. Conceived in lust opposed to love. We live in a culture that underscores this point over and over again. If we are being honest, we acknowledge that the children that we've produced, the world that we've produced, made its way into existence through the act of sex, this portal between the seen and unseen worlds. How many sexual partners would you take back if you could? How many relationships have you had in the past, let's be honest, that should have been limited to friendships or short-term experiences, yet they expanded into something more once sex became part of the relationship? How many abortions or STDs in the culture could we prevent if we place more emphasis on sex as an act of spiritual connection to be respected and protected? Would our daughters and sons think twice about sexting lewd pictures to random strangers, or be mindful of how they interact online if they had a deeper understanding of this subject? As a culture, would we have a deeper respect for girls and women if we organize conversations and teaching methods around this subject, inspiring both sexes to see women beyond a sexual capacity? And let me see. There was one more point that I wanted to read. And I wrote this book specifically to be digestible for young people, for teenage range, preteen and teenage range, and use the language that is relevant to this time. On page 26 in the section on cultivating an understanding of male anatomy and sexual energy, I don't know if you can see that. It says, and this is a quote from Montauk Chia, the flow of sex energy alone cannot complete this circle. And as far as the circle is concerned, he's talking about the yin and the yang and the totality of who we are striving to become as men and women and just human beings in general. The flow of sex energy alone cannot complete this circle. Love must be present. The mind must participate in sex with a totally attentive feeling. This circle of energy cannot connect if a man only joins his penis with a woman's vagina without loving her with his heart. That is like holding the ends of two horseshoe magnets close and then only touching one arm from each magnet. The other arm also wants to connect to seal the magnetic attraction. Only when both positive and negative poles of both the man and woman are locked in place can the energy flow with any power and stable balance. That is why sex alone without love makes you unhappy. You are only connecting one half of yourself to the woman and your lower half at that. The flow of chi in the Tao circle is broken, and without that total flow between yin and yang, no amount of sex will satisfy your deeper desire for wholeness. Now, let's bring this back into context. I said yesterday in the video, and I've continued to say, that our relationship in America, the society in general, and in particularly Black people in America, is a very promiscuous and low frequency, low vibration energy when it comes to sexuality, the conversation of sex. If you look at the way that we conduct ourselves online when we're talking about sex, there are a lot of men and women, but I'm saying men in particular because I'm a woman, that do not know how to interact with and deal with a woman beyond a sexual capacity in a healthy and functional way. I know because I have men all over the world that engage me, that talk to me, that reach out to me, and are and really don't have the mental or emotional capacity to interact beyond this sexual nature. That is a very unhealthy situation. I can understand having a personal relationship with a woman, but when you are dealing with somebody that you are trying to get to know or trying to establish a friendship and relationship with, the inability to have a functional, healthy mental and emotional and spiritual connection beyond the conversation of sex should worry us. So my question for you guys, you've heard me say over and over again that human beings are an ecosystem. All of us are connected. So what is happening in the broader scope of our culture, and the women who are at the forefront of the culture, and unfortunately for us, fortunately in some regards, unfortunately for us in a big regard, there are women that are purely promoting sex, purely using sex to sell content, to sell music, to sell their image, etc. And there's no context and there's no balance. So we have young women, and now we have this idea that with Lizzo, representing a certain demographic, women who want to be more body confident, women who might identify as a little bit overweight, etc., big girls, so to speak, who are identifying with this new representation as somehow representing new womanhood, a newfound confidence, and a new level of strength. Well, your confidence and your overall confidence, and what you exude should not only be based on your physical self, especially because that is not even your power base. That's not even the most powerful part of you. Sex is not even close to the most powerful part of who and what a woman is. And that aspect, when it comes to the sexual relationship, as Montauk Chia was talking about, the only way that can really truly be activated is through love. So the connection of sex and love is what actually fully embellishes and empowers the concept of sexuality. So this idea now that this new women's liberation of sexuality is going to unleash us from all of the depredation and the victimization that we've been through, that sex is going to be the key, that is falsity, that is misleading women, and that is truth mixed with falsehood. Because in order for a woman to really navigate towards her highest self, become her highest self, the fullness of who she is, which is a mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional being, there has to be love in place, love for self. There's no way that a woman who really, truly loves herself would put herself out there the way Lizzo did, would embarrass herself the way she did, and would make all of those thousands of people that were in that auditorium feel as uncomfortable as she did. And some people were cheering her, granted, but I guarantee you she made a lot of people feel uncomfortable. And then once it became the public facade that it was to double back down on it, seeing how the variance of energy and the skewed responses that she was getting, to double back down on it and not humble herself and say, maybe I should have rethought that. But to really try to re-emphasize, this is who I am, and this is the way I live my life, and I don't care how you think about it or how you feel about it. That's fine in the privacy of your own home. And this is what I'm talking about when I say a lot of these celebrities and these people that are in the forefront pushing themselves on us and being who they are naturally, without accepting the accountability and the responsibility of what the broader context of the culture means, what this means for our daughters 5-10 years from now. It's very irresponsible and it's very disrespectful, to be honest. So I want to ask you guys, what is going to happen to our sons and daughters growing up in a world where they can go online and see content that normally was reserved for strip clubs, that normally was reserved for private settings where only adults would have access to? What is the hypocrisy or the schism that's going to happen in the mindset of men and women in this culture, where the conversation about Me Too and the conversation about rape culture is prevalent? How is it that we are forcefully and culturally creating this conversation about indulgence with no conversation about discipline. ZaZaAli.com is my website. You can get the Science of Sex workbook there. Thank you guys for your time and attention. Peace and love.